I was born twice, once at home and again in the pediatric ward of this hospital, when my mother never came back to get me. It's strange to say that, but it's the truth. I'm 48 years old today. I've been chief of pediatrics at this hospital for 5 years, and I can still smell the disinfectant mixed with fear from that first day. It was January 1983. I was 8 years old and had pneumonia that almost took me away. If you're listening to this story, hit that like button so it can reach more people. Sometimes the stories that hurt us most are the ones that heal us most. When you're a kid, you think your parents are indestructible, that they'll always be there, no matter what. That's what I thought about my mom. She was everything to me. I never knew my father. It was just the two of us in a tiny room at a boarding house in a rough neighborhood on Chicago's South Side. The day my fever spiked, I was lying on our thin mattress, shaking so hard she got desperate. My baby, she kept saying, touching my forehead. Her hands felt cold, or maybe I was burning up inside. She wrapped me in an old blanket. I can still smell that blanket. The smell of being poor, but the smell of love too. She carried me to the bus stop. I was light, always been skinny, but she was still breathing hard. "Everything's gonna be okay, sweetheart," she whispered in my ear. "Mommy's here." The pediatric ward was on the second floor, long hallway with that sea green linoleum that squeaked when you walked on it. The nurse on duty, Nancy, I only learned her name years later, had to pull me out of my mother's arms to take me to the bed. "Go ahead, hun, we'll take real good care of him," Nancy said with that no-nonsense voice experienced nurses have. "Come back tomorrow during visiting hours." My mother kissed my forehead, the most important kiss of my life, though I didn't know it then. "Mommy will be back tomorrow, okay? You be good for the nurses." I waved from the bed. She waved back from the end of the hallway. Then she disappeared through the double glass doors. I never saw her again. Not at that moment, anyway. You folks listening to me, have you ever felt what it's like to wait for someone who won't come back? It's a strange kind of pain. At first, you still have hope. She must be working. She must be sick too. She'll show up tomorrow. But days go by, 1 week, 2, a month, and you start to understand, even as a kid, that you've been left behind. But the hospital became my home, really. Nancy, the nurse who took me in, was about 45, no kids of her own. Kind of tough on the outside, but with a heart of gold. After Child Protective Services tried to place me in foster care, and I came back with pneumonia again, because abandoned kids get sick easier, she went to talk to the hospital administration. "This boy stays here. He's already settled in. He's already part of our family. Besides, the foster system's overloaded anyway, and he helps with the other children." The administration agreed, mainly because I wasn't any trouble. Actually, I helped out. I organized supplies, kept the other sick kids company, and that's how 3 women in scrubs became my mothers. Nancy during the day shift, Carol on nights, and Linda on weekends. Nancy was the strict one, always making sure I was eating right, doing my homework. Carol was the gentle one, always sneaking me candy, telling me bedtime stories. Linda was the fun one, made us laugh even when we were feeling down. I slept on a fold-out cot at the end of the hall. During the day, I stayed out of the way, watching everything. I learned to fold gauze, organize patient charts, recognize the sound of every machine. By age 10, I could tell when a child was getting better just by listening to their breathing. Nancy gave me my first stethoscope. It was old, kind of beat up, but to me it was treasure. "Here you go, Doc," she'd say, smiling. "Someday you're going to need this for real." How did she know? How did she know that abandoned boy would become a doctor? The other kids from the neighborhood went to school, played on the streets. I went to school too. Carol made sure of that. But my real home was at the hospital. That's where I felt safe. There was a big window in the pediatric ward right across from my little corner. I spent hours looking out that window, watching people come and go. Deep down, I was still hoping to see my mother show up, even after years. That window taught me a lot. I saw people coming in scared and leaving relieved. I saw families hugging. I saw people crying happy tears. I saw that the hospital wasn't just a place of sadness. It was a place for new beginnings. You parents out there, you grandparents, you know that feeling of waiting for someone who might never come back? Drop a comment below if you've been through that too. But life goes on, you know? By age 16, I'd already decided I was going to be a doctor. Not out of anger, not to prove anything to anybody. It was because I'd seen since I was little the power that medicine has to save, to heal, to give hope. The nurses took up a collection to help me with prep course books. Nancy was getting ready to retire, but she still came by from time to time. "My little doctor is growing up," she'd say, beaming with pride. I studied like there was no tomorrow. Prep course in the morning, volunteering at the hospital in the afternoon, studying at night. I had motivation that others didn't have. I wanted to come home, and my home was right there. I got into medical school at the University of Illinois at Chicago in 1993. The day the results came out, I cried so hard, Carol thought I'd been rejected. "Did you get in, honey? Did you get in?" And when I said yes, she whooped so loud the whole hospital heard. During the 6 years of medical school, I kept my room at the hospital. I helped in the ER, transported patients, did whatever was needed. The other students didn't get it. "You actually live here." And I'd answer, "This is where I belong." Medicine taught me a lot, but the hospital had already taught me the most important thing, that taking care of people is what matters most in this world. I graduated in 1999, did my pediatric residency at the same hospital. Of course, it had to be pediatrics. 3 more years learning from the best doctors and nurses. After that, I got my MBA in healthcare administration. I worked at other hospitals for a few years, gained experience, but always knew I'd come back. In 2015, when I heard there was an opening for a staff pediatrician position, I didn't hesitate for a second. I came back. The boy abandoned in the pediatric ward had become a doctor in the pediatric ward. In 2020, they offered me the position of chief of pediatrics. It was like they'd handed me the keys to my own kingdom. But the most important day of my life after becoming chief was when she walked through those doors. My mother, after 37 years, she was sick, cancer, had nobody left in the world. She'd heard about a really good doctor in the hospital's pediatrics department, someone who took care of both children and their families. She had no idea it was me. She came into my office, a 67-year-old woman, thin, with those eyes. Those same eyes I remembered. "Doctor," she said, "I really need your help. I don't have anyone, I don't have insurance, but I heard that you're really good with people." I knew it was her immediately, even after almost 4 decades. "What's your name, Ma'am?" "Mary Beth Johnson." The same name I'd memorized as a child, waiting for her to come back. I didn't tell her who I was, not right then. I was terrified. Terrified she'd run away again, terrified she'd have a heart attack, terrified I'd mess everything up. I talked to Carol. She was retired but still volunteered at the hospital. "Carol, what if I tell her and she can't handle it? What if it's too much?" "Sweetheart," she said, "some things are out of our control, but taking care of her, that you can do." That's exactly what I did. I took care of her, the way she couldn't take care of me. I admitted her, made sure she got the best treatment, stayed by her side every single day. For 2 weeks she called me doctor, and I was there holding her hand, listening to her talk about her life. She told me about having a son, about losing him at a hospital when he was little. "He was my whole world, doctor, but I was so young, so scared. I thought he'd be better off without me." One afternoon she was looking out the window of her room, the same window where I used to wait as a kid, and she said, "Doctor, you have the same eyes as my son." That's when I couldn't keep it inside anymore. "Mum," I said quietly, "I am your son." She didn't say anything for about 5 minutes, just stared at me. Then the tears started. "My baby, my little boy, please forgive me. I was just a kid myself, so lost. I really thought you'd have a better life without me. We spend our whole lives imagining what we'd say to the person who hurt us most, and when the moment finally comes, all we can feel is peace." She passed away 3 days later. Quietly, peacefully. I held her hand just like she held mine that January night in 1983. But before she went, she said something I'll never forget. "You became everything I dreamed you could be. I couldn't raise you, but this place, these people raised you just right." Today, when I walk through the pediatric ward, I always stop at that window where I used to wait. I'm not waiting for anyone anymore. But I see people leaving healthy. I see children walking out holding their parents' hands. I see families getting their second chances. The hospital that took me in when I had nowhere to go now helps hundreds of people every day. And me? I'm just one link in this chain of caring that started with Nancy, continued with Carol and Linda, and now goes on with me. Last week, an 8-year-old girl came in with pneumonia, just like me, 42 years ago. Her mum was crying in the hallway, scared out of her mind. I walked up to her and said, "She's going to be fine. We don't give up on kids here." The little girl looked at me and asked, "How do you know, doctor?" I showed her the window in the pediatric ward. Because I used to look out that window too, waiting for someone to come get me. But you know what I learned? Sometimes the person you're waiting for doesn't come back. But there's always someone new who needs you to take care of them. Today, when I lock up the hospital and feel those keys in my hand, I think, my mother was right. She left me exactly where I needed to be. Let me ask you something. Have you ever realized that your biggest hurt became your greatest strength? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your story too.